G'day SA.
I'm Jenna.
And I'm Jay.
And welcome to Alexandrina. Jay, it is a gorgeous day and I think I might go canoe the Coorong.
And I'm going to hop on a train down the coast for a gorgeous train ride. The Steam Ranger Heritage Railway operates a number of different heritage steam and diesel-hauled tourist trains. Trains operate on up to 140 days a year and are manned by volunteers from the Australian Railway Historical Society, who are also responsible for maintenance of the railway line and the heritage locomotives and carriages. I'm with Ray, the track manager here at the Steam Ranger. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Can you just tell me a little bit about your role here?
My role in Steam Ranger is to manage the track, which runs all the way from Mount Barker to Victor Harbour.
Sounds a bit technical, but it's a massive role.
It is a massive role, and my job incorporates replacing sleepers, replacing damaged rail, looking after road crossings, and it's all done by volunteer labour. Volunteers
are always vital. But you were saying about the sleepers. Now, I've lifted one of them in the garden before, and they are some heavy lifting and some tireless work.
Yeah, luckily we have machinery that can lift them, pull them out and put them in. And mainly what we have to do is just actually put the dog spikes which hold the rail to the sleeper, and we have a pneumatic hammer to do that. So,
oh, labour intensive.
Yeah, and that role, yes, and all our re-sleeping is carried out by volunteer labour. Unfortunately, we don't get any government funding for that, so we just battle on our own. We rely on our ticket sales for funding of purchase of sleeps, etc.
Can you tell me how many trains that you have running here?
We have 3 trains a day. During the off-season, which is a non-school holiday period, we have it on Wednesdays and Sundays.
And what sort of train is that one?
That'll be mostly rail car or diesel hauled.
Yeah.
Now the train starts usually at Goolwa here and then runs through to across the plains to Middleton, then through to Port Elliot. And then from Port Elliot onwards we run down the edge of the beaches into Victor Harbour. Now our steam locos run during school holidays, except if there's a fire ban on. And we don't run trains if the temperature of Victor Harbour is 35 degrees or over.
How come you can't run the steam trains along to Victor Harbour in a fire ban season? Because
you can't run steam if there's a fire ban on, in case they get sparks start the fire in the paddocks, or because you run across farmland from Middleton, across Middleton. And we also run trains from Mount Barker during the winter months to Victor Harbour. They run twice a month, the first and third Sunday of the month. We also do run trains from Victor Harbour to Mount Barker, which is called the Southern Hills Special, which is a rail car. And other than that, we do have a Highlander, which runs from Mount Barker to Strathalbyn. That runs during the winter months as well.
Now, I've done the drive in the car and it's absolutely beautiful, and I am looking forward to hopping on the train today. What train will we be hopping on today to go to Victor Harbour?
You'll be hopping on a heritage diesel-hauled cockle train. Be 3 carriages, I presume.
And how many does that seat?
That'll seat about 150.
150 people?
Yes, 150 people.
Now, what other roles do you do here other than being track manager?
Me, I also have a guard. I can do tickets.
Oh, so the ticket controller that takes tickets, please.
No,
do you yell out, tickets, please?
I've got that role today. I can also tell them.
Jeez, I better get my ticket. Don't.
Yeah, off the train.
Throw me off the train. The 930 class diesels were built around the 1950s to replace the medium weight steam locos, and such had an axle load which let them operate on the railways and western system to Wallaroo and to Gladstone. In service, they handled the main South Line trains and many Port Pirie and Peterborough line services in preference to the older and heavier 900 class locos. For many years, these engines also worked the Overland Express from Adelaide to Serviceton. Some of them have even been seen carrying local passenger service to Geelong in Victoria whilst waiting to return back to Adelaide. Getting on one of those trains is not just about the train ride, it's an experience, and I can't wait to see what this journey has to offer.
All aboard, stand clear.
Graham, one of the guards who retired here in Victor Harbour over 20 years ago, has decided to become a volunteer at the Steam Ranger. His experience and knowledge just guarantees a pleasant and informative ride for all the visitors.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome aboard your 10 o'clock cockle train departure from the river port of Goolwa, bound for Victor Harbour, stopping in Port Elliot. Now, the line over which you're travelling is the remnants of the very first publicly funded railway that opened in Australia between the river port of Goolwa and Port Elliot, and it opened for horse-drawn services in 1854. The purpose of the line was to transport goods across to a deep-sea port and take the trade off the riverboats. Port Elliot proved unsuitable due to a number of shipwrecks, so 10 years later in 1864 the line was extended to Victor Harbour, which was perceived to be a safer anchorage. Today the railway from Mount Barker Junction to Victor Harbour is operated as the Steam Ranger Heritage Railway, and at some 80 kilometres in length is recognised as one of the longest volunteer-operated railways in the country.
I've noticed you've done some mighty fine work on the PA announcements as well.
Oh yes, all part of the deal to make release some meaning into the trip for some of the people. Some of the information is probably not readily known to them.
I just want to ask, every so often we hear the train driver honk the horn. Is that because we're going over a rail line, or is there that he might see some danger up ahead?
Well, it's probably both. They regulations sound every crossing.
Yep.
And there are some spots where they get to know from experience that pedestrians sneak across the track too. So, but he's coming into Murray Street at Port Elliot now, and that's a bad crossing. And he will slow down and he will hit his horn fairly hard.
So you have been a passionate volunteer for 20 years. What made you want to volunteer here and still be so passionate about doing it?
Oh, I grew up with the trains very close to where I lived in Henley Beach, and always had a soft spot for trains and lamented the passing of them in some respects. And Steam Ranger offers a whole range of things that you can do. So I was interested in that, and I've become able to do most of the lost features.
Now Graham, just give us a little bit of history about the train we're on at the moment.
The link to Adelaide was cut off in the middle 80s when they changed the gauge through the hills, and it was after that that they formed this organisation to run between Mount Barker Junction and here, because the South Australian Railways were no longer using the track, and the government basically handed it over to Steam Ranger to run it. But it's 80 kilometres of track. It's a lot of track, and a lot of the work and money that goes into the organisation has to be spent on maintaining, you know, the track as well as all the rolling stock. And
it's still beautiful inside and all that. It's well maintained.
Oh yeah, well, there's something for anybody. If they want to volunteer, there's plenty of things that they can do. Even from woodworking through to metalworking in the workshop, or just being a volunteer looking after passengers
as well. And all that sort of stuff.
There's a team that go out 2 days a week, and they're probably the ones that put in more time than anybody. And it's quite out of sight and not terribly work that, well, a lot of people wish they would want to do it, but a lot of it can be done with machinery, but it's still heavy work.
No worries, thank you. You've got a job to do, Victor, right now, so we'll let you go. Thanks for having a chat with us.
Hope you enjoyed the trip.
Thanks, Graham. The railway from Goolwa to Victor Harbour runs along the coast and has some of the nicest views anywhere from the train. It has beautiful bays with islands in the background, surfers, beaches and crushing waves. What more is there to ask for? Now Peter, I've just come off an amazing experience. So we left from Goolwa, headed to Victor Harbour, and then I found out that you were the driver.
That's correct, yes.
How many years have you been doing that, Peter?
Oh, roughly 30 years, off and on with steam and rail cars and diesels.
30 years?
Well, roughly, I can't, yeah, it would be now, 30 years.
And what do you prefer driving? Do you prefer the steam one that comes out on the special occasions, or
Oh,
the diesel one behind us?
Oh, the steam's very more satisfying to drive, but yeah. I'd rather now, because of my getting on in years, it's too long a day for me, so I'm happier driving the diesel or a rail car.
Do you still get the passion and the excitement? Because I saw you hop off and you're still smiling and you're having so much fun.
Oh yeah, I enjoy it, yes. It's good.
You just love it when the passengers come off and see the enjoyment and the smiles on the kids' faces.
It's very rewarding, yes.
As soon as you hear that horn blow and the kids wave, and they absolutely love the atmosphere.
Yeah, they do. It's a good experience.
So, was this the first very line you started driving trains from?
Yes, well I started, we had a base at Dry Creek and we used to learn to drive originally between Strathalbyn and Victor Harbour, and then in more latter years from Mount Barker to Victor Harbour.
So how do you get your licence?
Well, firstly you have to get a steam, because I started off on steam. You need to get a reciprocating steam engine ticket, do so many 100 hours under supervision as a fireman, and then after some years then become a trainee engine driver.
The coastline around this area is not just a pretty picture. It has some of the very iconic South Australian seafood which is caught just off the shores of Goolwa and the Coorong. Michael Weldon is with us to teach us what the local Alexandrina produce can really offer.
So in today's dish we're cooking these beautiful Coorong mullet from the Coorong in South Australia. We're going to pair them with some beautiful cockles as well as some beautiful San Remo couscous. First thing I'm going to do is add my cockles into a smoking hot pan. And this pan's been on for 5 minutes to get really hot. I'm going to chuck it in and I'm going to grab my white wine as well. And you need to get your lid on straight away. And you see that's really hot in there. And we give it a shake and they won't take long to open at all. And as you can see, the cockles just start popping open. What I'll do now, because they're cooked, is just drain them off. The other good thing is that by adding the white wine to them, we get this beautiful liquor of cockle juice and white wine. And we don't want to waste that because it's absolutely delicious. So what I'm going to do is drain them off and take them to the side. And then this beautiful liquor here, I'm going to use to cook the couscous. So we get our liquor on, and just to that, I'm just going to add a little bit of fish stock and just a dash of white wine. For 1 cup of couscous, you go 1 cup of water. It's super simple. You literally pour it into a bowl. You add to it your hot liquid, whether it be water, I've used beer, or we're going to use our little cooking liquid, fish stock, and some wine. Pour it on top, and then simply chuck a plate over the top and leave that for 5 minutes. So now the next thing we're going to do is to cook our beautiful fillets here of Coorong mullet. So these are our whole fish here, but luckily enough we've had the fishmonger already cut the fillets off for us, so all we have to do is cook them. So I'm going to chuck a hot pan on. Just going to add a little bit of oil to our pan. We want our pan to be nice and hot. And we're going to add a beautiful Coorong mullet fillets, skin side down. We just want to hold them down a little bit, just for 10 seconds. Just so we make sure the skin doesn't curl up underneath. We'll cook this fish for like 90 seconds, so it'll be 60 seconds on one side and about 30 on the other. It cooks really quickly. The other thing I'm going to do quickly is just add a tiny bit of salt just to the flesh side, and you can tell the fish is ready to turn when it changes from that translucent colour to the white up the side. You can see there that that skin's beautiful and crispy, and as quickly as that, our Coorong mullet is cooked. Just take it off. So just while our couscous is cooking, I've just chucked in the cockle meat that's been picked out of the shells into the couscous, just to heat it up a bit more. I'm also going to add our samphire. It grows wild through the Coorong and along the banks of the Coorong, and it's a really cool ingredient. It's salty, it bursts in your mouth. In here we've got our couscous with our cockles and our samphire. We're just going to fork it and run a fork through the couscous to fluff it all up. Do it gently so we keep our cockle meat all whole and together. Now to this, I'm just going to add a couple of ingredients just to add some crunch. So just finely diced fennel, one of my favourite herbs. It's going to add a lot of freshness. I've tried to dice it up small enough that it's similar size to the couscous. I've also done the same with some little radishes. I'm going to add some colour and some real crunch and also some pepperiness. Now I'm just going to dress this by adding a good squeeze of lemon. Again, fork that through. And then finally, we're just going to add our olive oil and just give it a good drizzle. So now it's pretty much just time to plate up. That's my dish of Coorong mullet with San Remo couscous.
Stretching more than 130 kilometres, the Coorong National Park protects a string of saltwater lagoons from the Southern Ocean by the sweeping sand dunes of the Young Husband Peninsula. A wetland of international significance and an important archaeological site, the Coorong is of enormous cultural significance to the Ngarrindjeri people, with ancient mounds of discarded shells revealing evidence of the Aboriginal campsites over thousands of years. The name is thought to be from the Aboriginal word Coorang, sand dune, a reference to the sand dunes that can be seen between the park and the Southern Ocean. The distinctive landscape is an important breeding area for the Australian pelican and is a refuge for ducks, swans, cormorants, terns, grebes and numerous species of migratory birds. The Coorong is recognised as an important bird area by BirdLife International. Canoeing is one of the best ways to see the area, taking in the beauty and peacefulness of the landscape. Brenton has been working in the Coorong for years, and he knows all the secrets this place has to offer. We've now arrived at our starting point, and I'm about to get into a canoe for the first time since primary school. Brenton's canoes are a lot fancier than the ones I remember. There's a rudder on the back to help with steering and balance, and foot pedals to control it.
So, you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready.
So what we'll do is I'll push you out and then I'll put the rudder down for you.
Okay.
Fine, I'll clear the boat, swing it around.
I picked it up again in no time. Brenton caters to all experience levels. If you've never canoed before, or you fancy yourself as a bit of an expert, he's got a tour for you. In fact, all age and health levels can participate. It's go at your own pace, and you're in very capable hands. Geologically, the Coorong is a set of complex and ancient sand dunes. The oldest is said to have been formed about 120,000 years ago. The modern-day Coorong was formed between 6,000 and 20,000 years ago, when the sea rose to form an island on top of the 80,000-year-old dune. This produced a lagoon behind the present line of seaward dunes. At the time, there were probably many access points from the sea to the lagoon, but over time, wind and sand filled these in, creating this unique neck of land. Bush tucker can also be found in the area, giving us an insight on how the traditional Aboriginal people lived off the land.
So this particular plant here, this is a boobyalla plant. And so this one has really nice little fruits.
Wow.
They taste a little bit like carrot peels if they're not ripe, and really sweet carrots if they are ripe.
They really do taste like carrots.
They're pretty nice, aren't they? So these have co-evolved with the birds around here. So the emus actually eat these. They go through the digestive system and they germinate after that. So
Wow.
very, very interesting little plant.
Most of the fruit found around the area can be eaten straight away, and locals even make jam out of some of the berries.
Okay, so we found some more bush tucker.
We have. So this very low-lying plant here on the ground is actually a native plant called munteries or munterberries. If you want to try one of these are probably one of the favourite bush tuckers we show everyone.
Okay.
You can tell me what you think they taste like.
It's crisp. It's like a bit like an apple.
Yeah, that's what we quite often get, is a nice crispy apple. So these are making a bit of impact on the native food cuisine. You might see muntery jams and muntery chutneys all over the place. So I've really tasted one found native here in the Coorong.
There you go.
Not a bad little way to another one.
Absolutely.
Once we cross the sand dunes, we are up for a treat. A great view of the Southern Ocean.
Beautiful view.
Well, Brenton, you have an amazing office.
Not a bad office at all, is it?
It is unbelievably beautiful. Thank you so much for bringing us out here.
Absolute pleasure.
Now tell us, how long have you been doing the tours for?
So the actual tour started up about 3 years ago. But 2 years before that, we actually did Canoe the Coorong as a uni assignment.
Okay.
It was a third-year ecotourism assignment where we had to set up something in the tourism field. And so my group set up a mock tour company called Canoe the Coorong. And then after we finished that, we decided to set up as a business. And so we spent 12 months getting the qualifications and then started taking tours 3 years ago.
3 years, so obviously it's been quite successful for you.
It has. It's been a bit of a whirlwind journey. It's really started to take off now, but it's just such a beautiful area that, you know, how can anyone resist coming out here?
Now, you're actually from the Barossa, a Barossa boy.
I am.
How did you end up in the Coorong?
So I actually first came to the Coorong after schoolies, so year 12 partied out at Victor Harbour, had one big night down there, and I'm not a huge party animal. And then one of my mates called me up and said, hey look, we're spending the next few days down at Goolwa, do you want to come out fishing with us?
Yeah.
And I'm a mad keen fisherman, so I jumped at that opportunity and then started to fall in love with the place because of the fishing. And then as I did more in this degree, which is all about the environment, started realising this place is just breathtakingly beautiful and well and truly undervalued. And so I wanted to start trying to promote, get people out here so that we can get some value back into the area, and it's just, it should be one of the icons of South Australia. It's just beautiful down here.
Well, you're doing an absolutely fantastic job. Tell us, what degree do you have?
It's ecotourism.
Yep.
So it's a science-based degree at Flinders Uni. And so it's all about teaching people on tours the complex sort of issues that come up in science, but without taking it into complex film. So you can just talk to people in layman's terms so that everybody understands the processes without having to be doing a degree themselves to understand what's going on.
And kayaking is obviously an environmentally friendly way
Absolutely.
to experience nature, isn't
So
it?
we could do a trip out here on a boat, but what I've decided to do is have a sustainable means of transport. So the kayaks is just a way to get over here. Once you're over here, it's a matter of immersing yourself in just the sheer beauty of the Coorong down here.
Well, you're a very knowledgeable person. We've done a fantastic bush tucker walk
that's
through
the one.
dunes.
Did you enjoy those tastes?
I absolutely loved it. What's next?
Okay, so next we're going to head down to the beach here. We're going to go catch some of the famous Goolwa cockles, which we're going to cook up as an entree before lunch. So we're going to go for a bit of a cockle now. So what we're going to do is a thing called the cockle dance, which is where we go into the water there, about somewhere between our ankles and our knee deep. We work our hips, we work our knees, get down nice and low, do that twist.
Like the twist,
That's
alright.
it, get down nice and low, do the twist. And what you'll feel is those cockles actually underneath your feet, they'll pop themselves up.
Okay.
Once you feel them, you can bend over.
Let's do it.
Do it.
Let's go.
Cockles were primarily used as bait in South Australia. They weren't really eaten until Italian immigrants introduced vongole into restaurants in the 1990s. Because of that, the prices increased to where they became viable for commercial fishing.
Well, the Coorong Beach is one of the largest cockle fisheries in Australia. Here's my catch, but the professionals can get about 20 kilo bags in about 15 minutes. So I reckon I should keep practicing.
Now that we have our catch of the day, let's see what we can cook up.
Well, Brenton, I can't believe that we've kayaked up here, gone from a bush tucker walk through, caught some cockles, and now we're actually going to cook them.
We are.
Cooking lesson as well.
This is something that happens on every tour, so we're actually going to cook up some of the famous cool cockles. So these are the ones that we've got here. So all I'm going to do is cook them up nice and simply.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of putting them in a hot pan. You hear them sizzling away already. That should be enough. And then we're just going to add a little bit of dill. And a little bit of lemon pepper.
Okay.
Just nice and simply. Then we're going to put a lid on it and leave it for a couple of minutes.
Great.
And once they open up, they're all cooked.
There you go.
It's been a couple of minutes.
Okay.
These guys should be pretty much cooked, and there you go. So they've opened up.
Oh, they're like little butterflies.
They are like little butterflies, and they taste a hell of a lot better.
What a jam-packed day we've had, Jen.
We absolutely have. It's been great, but we still do have time for our photo opportunity of the week.
Look what I caught a little bit earlier, Jen. Cheese!